I think we're going to transition into the full panel discussion. We're going to have Casey and Adam and Sonia come on up, and now we got the time to continue answering any questions you guys have. I also want to mention, I know it's getting late, right? And we have definitely eaten into your dinner time. We ordered some pizza, which just arrived. So our team is going to be walking around with pizza to offer you. You don't even have to get out of your seat. So that's coming through. Thank you again, everybody. Like, you made it. I know the crowd is thinned out a tad bit, and that's not surprising. It's a Saturday night. There's a lot going on. But you guys came here because you're curious about what we had to offer, and I really hope that you guys found some value in what we talked about today. And now is the perfect time to continue asking questions about everything. You guys should have a ton of questions. Like, these are really profound, amazing tools. This is maybe a pie-in-the-sky kind of policy thing happening in Modesto. Please continue asking questions, because everybody here is just as much of an expert as we are. So that being said, hang tight, pizza coming right behind you. Anybody have any questions for anybody on this whole panel?
Yes, my name is Jesus. I was homeless for quite a while, and I suffer from a meth addiction. But I also wanted to talk about, there's a lot of discrimination against gay men in the homeless community, and especially like some shelters. One of the shelters I ended up going to was called the Ross Hotel, and they actually had cameras, especially just for rooms with cameras just for gay men. And they will hack our cell phones, and even on the street we'll be followed and beat up. I was run over by a car once. I was hit with a bat and knocked unconscious for a couple hours while walking on 6th and Wilshire. Wilshire and near Alvarado. So I had suffered a lot of physical damage from that. I was wondering if any of the homeless people that you spoke to, did they ever speak about it or anything like that? Do you speak to any gay men on that issue? Both of you?
Yeah. I mean, I can speak to that a little bit. I think you can too. But yeah, I come across people, and I've lived near people the whole time I was unhoused that have had discrimination towards them for many reasons, especially being either trans, gay, a female. All sorts of things, but I think, like, the main thing is to get into community. You know what I mean? Whether that be to go to like LA Can, Sidewalk Project, any kind of like organization that's out there that's in that community, and just become part of the community, because that's where your safety is. Safety's in numbers. You know what I mean? Have people know what's happening to you when it's happening in time. You know what I mean? And just don't be quiet about it. I mean, it's not right, and I'm not saying it's going to stop, but I think that our community members are the people that keep us safe.
Anybody have any other questions?
Real quick question. My name's Jake. The program in Modesto, I'm from Modesto. I didn't know anything about this. I was raised there. I've lived here for 30 years, excuse me. Long story short, if you wanted to expand something like this into, I live in Santa Monica, which has, there are different cities, but the idea there's homelessness there and all the people. What would it take to expand, to even get something started like what's happening in Modesto into another, community? I mean, like the tip of the sword, how do you even start something like this?
Thank you for that question. That is, I think, the most important question to ask. I think Mark may have left, but this is a conversation I'm having with the city all the time. I view the film and the project in Camp to Home as a tool. Clearly, there's scaling issues when it comes to funding and capacity, but if you think about how the city of Modesto is approaching it, outreach, shelter, job training, job placement, and housing, right? And you take all of those 5 components and duplicate that philosophy and that framework, I think that is a recipe for success. I have had many conversations with the mayor of Modesto and the city council and the city manager. Please take the film on the road. Meet with other city officials. I think that there is a lot of lessons to learn. Clearly, 220,000. It's not a small city, but it's not a big city. But I think that there are a lot of really productive things to be learned from what they're doing, and I wish they would connect with other city officials to do just that. I hate the word franchise, but for lack of a better term, just take it. I mean, the chat team is incredible. I have to say, we filmed Camp to Home over the course of almost, I think there it is. And there were several moments that I was literally behind the camera weeping because of the work that they're doing. Like, seeing some of this stuff firsthand was just incredible. And so, it is very effective. Clearly there are issues and challenges to scale it, but they should try, right? I think they should absolutely be trying. So, great question. I do everything within my power to help spread the word. And again, one of my favorite terms is ripples make waves. And you can watch that film and you can think it's propaganda, or you can think it's a rosy approach because it's such a small town. But again, if you believe that this is a solvable problem, it's a solvable problem. And I think that just watching the film, sharing the film, I think is part of that. Yes, it is on YouTube, and I can absolutely share the link, and I'd be more than happy to share it with anyone and everyone.
One thing I want to add is that everything tonight you can take home with you. Both of the films that we watched are already on YouTube. And you might ask, well, why would you do a film festival about films that are already out? We want you guys to spread this around. Spread it to people who might think it's blasphemy. Spread it to people who might be like-minded. These two films, in my opinion, I really thought are kind of in conversation with each other because the policy approaches are so divergent. And I think if people watch them both, and again, it's not a big time commitment, we're talking 45 minutes, I think between the two of them, any critical thinking person can say, oh, wait, there actually is a better approach. And I think that's so critical in LA because I think we've had such a shitty approach to our homelessness policy for so long. I mean, Skid Row is basically a containment strategy. Let's take the undesirables and push them into an area so the rest of the city can be clean. And we know that that doesn't work because you can't contain it anymore. You cannot contain it anymore. And that's the case not only in LA, that's the case for all of America. I do want to highly recommend revisit the films. We're actually going to send a follow-up email to everybody who came here tonight. It'll have the links to the films in it. It's super critical that you guys take advantage of Daniela and Lauren while they're here. If you think that WEconnect is something that your communities can use or you yourself can use, have a conversation with them, pick up the flyer. I think it's super powerful. And I'll tell you one thing. I've been doing this work for 11 years, and the mental health issues and the burnout and the depression from service providers, from organizers is real. You might think, this is something that we need to give to the unhoused community. Think about yourself. Think about what having an honest conversation with a like-minded person can do. Because one thing that I've noticed, right, I think we all need therapy, men in particular. I think men have, yes, I'm gonna say that, men have such a stoicism, we don't want to admit that we need help. Men need this conversation more. We need peer support more than anybody. So that being said, look into it and consider yourself for it too, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And if you've been doing this work for a long time, that cup can feel very, very empty. And we're here to renew you. We're here to refuel you. We're here to possibly bring you hope. So that was my goal tonight. And I cannot thank you guys enough for being here. And Warner, quick.
I appreciate your heart, your endeavor, your prayers, your ancestors coming up and whispering in your ear to keep going. However, the city is corrupt. We have billions of dollars missing. It is not a tailored recipe for LA. What it is ultimately lifting the people who are actually doing the work. Food Not Bombs is one. There's so many mutual aids that are doing it right in the 4 directions. And we have to say that it was before COVID. It was already showing the economy how it's not been kind in the way that housing's not been built. Our city council has been pressuring Tracy Park to build affordable housing on the west side. And just because there's been gentrifucked doesn't mean that it's done, because we still have about 21% people of color, specifically in Venice where I live, that are holding on to their homes that they own and the homes that they rented. And we have right now the blah, blah, blah conversation of a dashboard app that never was built. So I'm gonna ask you, if the resources aren't built within like you could do it better than 311, because our representatives are so out of touch, they could never hold a candle to the people like community solidarity projects. They could never hold a candle to the people who are actually offering a sandwich, much like Sonia did, because sometimes that's all they need to take their medication is one meal. So I don't know if you've heard about the dashboard and all the baloney, green moldy baloney that came with that, because we didn't get it. We never got it on the west side. They don't want low-income people there from Santa Monica to San Pedro or to the 405. They just don't. They don't want to see us, let alone people of color. So I really want to know if you have taken a look at the other apps or the potential of other apps, because there is a dashboard, or the 311 app, which takes forever to get a response. Sometimes people, all they need is to know a list of food distribution or where they can pick up a meal. So that's my question, and I appreciate your efforts in Modesto, but LA is really gentrifucked and fucked up. We have to have a hope and a prayer. We have to have a town hall where we can talk about these things and look at the things that did work in Modesto. But I'm sorry, we have to have definitely people that look like me and look like Kingley and look like all of our relatives. We just can't have it whitewashed.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you just said, because I think it needs to be said. And the resources that exist that we see all the time, like 988, 311, I hear more often than not from the folks that we work with that those resources do not work for them and were not built for them. Or exist, yeah. Or you can't even get through. That's the other thing. So I can tell you, I can only speak for what we have done and with the people that we work with in California. So one of the things our peers do, and is Gina still in the room? Gina may have gone out there, but Gina is incredible, and she is kind of like our California resource queen, is that we've compiled resources that are not traditional. Because like you said, there's going to get therapy, going to get those services, but then there's personal medicine, which often is what people need. Being handled a sandwich, that's personal medicine. Having somebody just smile at you, having somebody who's willing to sit down and have a conversation with you, that's personal medicine that you can't necessarily get anywhere else. And so those are the kind of things that when we Like at WeConnect, our peers provide resources. We look at what is the personal medicine the person needs. And it's not always a clinical appointment. It's not always a resource that's going to be found by 311, but it's looking at what is their culture? What is the culture they want to be connected to? What resources exist? And then one of the things that I love about peers, and I heard this in your story too, is if the resource in the community doesn't exist, what do we have to do to build it or find it? Who do we have to connect with? Who's missing from the conversation to connect with? So a lot of the work that we end up doing too is not just finding resources, but identifying what doesn't exist and how do you find it? And that's hard.
I have a friend who had a DV voucher, a domestic violent voucher. It took her 4 months to get into. She didn't want to go to a shelter because she didn't feel safe there for obvious reasons. However, is not because it would be a priority, but I mean, we can define our community as large on how we treat children and how we treat women, specifically women and children. So, do you have DV counseling groups? Do you? God, I hope you have it in both in Spanish and English.
We don't have, and that's actually something that we do have. We have a lot of meetings we want to start, and the DV one is one of the meetings, and I'll be really honest, the reason that we have not yet launched it is one of the qualifiers to host a meeting is you have to be part of that community or have that lived experience. And the folks on our team, myself included, who have that lived experience, it's hard to hold that space. And we have to have at least 3 people that are willing to, and we've talked about it as a team, and we're hoping to get to that place, but that's hard, you know, and to do that for a living and to do it every single week. Like I host the grief support meeting frequently, and I have to I can't just host that meeting and jump to something else. Like I need time to come down from it. So we have had requests, and that is something that we're looking at building capacity to add because it is a need. I will say, and this is not enough, the women's meeting often turns into a DV support meeting. And the LGBTQ2+ meeting often turns into a DV support meeting. And it's not enough, but it is a powerful space. Yeah, absolutely.
Sonia.
So I just wanted to say something really quick to everybody's comments. I'm grateful.
Oh, hang on a second.
Okay, sorry, I have one working now. I wanted to say how grateful I am that your film was made, though. It gives us a little bit of hope. I mean, I know LA is really fucked up, and we have a long road ahead to change anything, but it gives an incentive to start doing that. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of us are doing that work already, but there's a lot that don't think that it's even capable of being done. And so we need to find that hope. But as far as like resources and stuff goes, I think that tonight Roger put this thing together so that we could mingle and get resources amongst ourselves. And I think that's really what it's supposed to be focused on. And I think that there's so many people in this room that have so much to offer, and we just don't talk to each other enough. We don't, coexist together. We're in different areas of the city or whatever. So that's really, I think, something to move forward. I would love to see these kind of convenings happen more often. And I think it's beautiful that you guys all came out because we have a lot of different areas of expertise, and we can just start cohabitating together, start collaborating and just doing the damn thing. So thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
This is a little bit of a digression, but I think that after our first film, I was thinking, what are our prototypes? What is Sao Paulo doing in Brazil? What is Rio doing? What is Ciudad de Mexico doing? What is Seattle doing? What is Chicago doing? What is New York doing? And I know San Francisco is not doing enough, but I can speak for that. I just wonder, when you're looking at, some of you may know better than I, when you're looking at prototypes for what LA can copy, and so we're not always creating, has anybody looked at that? I have a second question on the epidemiology, but let's just start with the first question, I guess. Anybody know the prototypes? You guys must have looked at big city prototypes, even though you're not a big city?
Yeah, there's a whole host of cities that are trying in their own way. I think Houston, Texas, has, I don't recall the name, but it's like they've built this city with similar functions as Camp to Home, but in like one geographic location, which I think is very interesting. So you have, job training and healthcare and, shelters and education. I mean, a lot of the work that the chat team does, it's helping people get their prescription glasses filled so they can fill out forms, or they don't have their license, helping them get a license or a ID card. Just basic things that we don't think about but are hugely impactful. So a lot of those services are provided. So yeah, Houston, there is actually, I'm blanking on the name, I'm sorry, but there is an organization in San Francisco that's doing really good work. It's messy. That city is very messy, but there are some really incredible folks. No. There was another documentary film made similar to Camp to Home in the efforts that they're doing. So yeah, I think that's the whole point, right? Is learning from each other, and that's why I think nights like this are great. Is just knowledge share, and what are you doing? How is it working? Can we replicate it? So yeah, great question.
And just to follow on that, there's really interesting programs in Europe, and especially if you look internationally, Finland has done some really good stuff. But they're different. But it's important to look at what they have in common that are the success stories. And 9 times out of 10, you'll see they focus on housing. It's creating housing and creating affordable housing and permanent supportive housing. And they've learned the lesson that it pays for itself. It's not more expensive. That's a stereotype.
Can I say something? Well, when I was at Project Room Key, which was the hotel, the Mayfair Hotel on 7th Street, it was a great hotel. It was a great place to stay at, and it did help me a lot. But I realized that some of those people were getting paid $26 to like $32 an hour to work there, and a lot of them were doing overtime. So I realized that it was not economically, it wasn't going to last, because these people who were working there, they had no experience working with the homeless community. They had no trade in psychology or anything like that. So, like you said, it felt very depressing staying there, because they have a lot of rules that kept people from working, from actually holding a job. Like myself, I had a scooter. I bought a scooter just for me to get to work because of the harassment, and I was getting at the bus, and they told me I couldn't have a scooter. So I had to take it back take it back to Costco, and keep on riding the bus and stuff like that to my job and stuff like that. So it was actually very not a great. It was good because I had a bed and it was a nice shower and everything. But other than that, it kind of felt like a prison. And just because they had all these people who had no experience, working with homeless people, they looked at you like, like nothing, and that was kind of depressing to me.
I feel like all these programs are not very well thought out, to say the least. The people that they put into the positions, it's not their fault, but they're not trained well, or they don't have the experience, or whatever, like whether it be in just getting people into housing, like just property management experience at the least, or anything. So they're going in there blindly, and then they're frustrated because they have all these people on their caseload, and they don't know what to do with us, you know what I mean? And here we sit as people that were in Project Room Cure, Inside Safe, wanting to know why we're in there with all these rules like we're children. And so I think that us speaking up more about it, because The general public's like, why don't these people want to go inside? Why are they service resistant? Why are they this, that, whatever? And it's not that. They just haven't experienced what we're experiencing being in there. And it's very demeaning, right? Yeah. Like, so us speaking up as advocates now and saying, hey, this is not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's spending all these billions or millions of dollars on something that's obviously not working. We're not getting people into housing. We're having people dying in their rooms. And just all these like repetitive things that are happening and nobody's paying attention. So I think us having a voice and speaking up about it loudly is what we need to do.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Cassandra. I got here late, so I missed the documentary, regretfully. But just based on the discussion that's been happening up until this moment. I am not technically a Los Angelina, meaning I was not born here, but I've been here 8 years now, and I just want to say that I feel like a couple of things are the issue. Homelessness is not the issue. Homelessness is the peak manifestation of a festering problem. I feel like one of the things that all of us, no matter what our bag is, no matter what our lane of activism is or advocacy is that nobody at all is really putting any pressure on the representatives of the city. Nobody is putting any pressure on the city so everybody can have these really tame, respectful conversations about the problems. And it's always the most victimized in this city that become the face of the problem. Like somehow, inherently, it's some weakness on their part that they are homeless. It's some weakness on their part that they are struggling. It's some weakness on their part that they can barely keep their fucking bills paid. You don't just disappear $24 billion assigned to resolve the issues of homelessness and say, oops, our bad, we don't know where it is, and we'll write about it for one article, and then just act like that shit was just the news for yesterday. That money, so I did the numbers, because that's what I do. I'm a nerd. I crunch numbers. $24 billion, bitch. Like, how y'all just lose $24 billion? And what does that translate to? That translates to the estimated, which is, as far as I'm concerned, a low estimate of the 35,000 people who are street homeless in the city, right? Do you know that comes to $68,000 a fucking person? So the problem could have been solved if y'all wouldn't conveniently have lost $24 billion. Somebody has to be kicking the ass of people that call themselves in positions of power to say, every time we see some problem in this motherfucking city, excuse my French, but every time we see some homelessness encampment, right? And you got, what's that weirdo name? What's that girl name? What's the mayor name? That woman. And she doing a press conference on how she's bringing bulldozers to, resolve the homeless encampment because it's a fire hazard. Bitch, where is the $24 billion? This encampment is your fault. While you're in office, this encampment is your fault. It is your problem because if it's not resolved under your watch, it means it's your problem. I don't care who started the problem. I'm just saying, like the world is crazy. And the entire planet is looking to the United States of America in general, and Los Angeles in particular, as the city that is known globally for projecting the image of America upon the world. Looking to this city to create an idea. We have a history in this country where other countries have looked to the United States of America. The Black Panther Party, for example. Like, damn, these 24-year-olds are over here giving these motherfuckers hell. Like, how can we do what they doing? Like, how can we partner with them? And so you have Huey P. Newtons and such going to Vietnam and going to China and going to Cuba because the world recognized that the rebellious behavior of Americans is always going to set the terms for how other people around the world rebel. And the problem is that we have been propagandized into complacency. That's the problem. And this city, more than any city on the goddamn country, in an electoral year, in a mayoral year, has the ability to create a wave that will trickle through the entire world if we seize it. But if we keep having these goddamn conversations on the terms that our opposition sets, we will never be able to resolve what the true issue is. Every single person that has placed themselves in a position of leadership anywhere in this country, in LA in particular, is responsible for the way this country looks. LA, California, has the 5th largest economy on the planet Earth. If there was anybody with the resources and the incentive to solve the problems, it would be this place. And the fact that those problems haven't been solved is deliberate. It is an orchestration. It is deliberate. We have to stop having these conversations on the terms that our fucking opposition sets. The demure, the fucking respectful, the oh, well, let's just see what the statistics say and try to come up with some explanation. No, it is your fault. It is your responsibility. Gavin Newsom, it's your responsibility for why the state looks the way that it does. Karen Bass, it's your responsibility. I don't care who did it before. It's your responsibility now for why the city looks the way that it looks. And the first thing that you signed into legislation was an increase of the goddamn police budget. The first order of business? Come on, man. Now, we can't keep having these conversations in the same way. Homelessness is an orchestration of calculated, precise proportion. Everywhere on earth, we have too many documentaries, we have too many statistics that tell us that it's big business. What did the Pope say? What's his name? Pope Francis? That without the poor, we would not be. What does that mean? We need the poor. We need poverty. We need homelessness to justify what we do, our wealth, our behavior, and our participation in this culture that demands people suffering in order to validate us. We have to have a different conversation. That's all I got to say.
No comment on that.
No,
Amen.
Sign me up for the revolution.
All right, let's do a final round of questions if anybody has it. If not, by the way, I think the one theme here is that we need more conversation, we need to be networking, we need to be strengthening our ability to protest, we need to be organizing our ability to demand more. And that's gonna happen through having conversations like this. It's gonna happen on the patio because we actually can hang out until 10 p.m. We have more food, drink, music, all that. Does anybody have any other questions before we kind of transition into the hangout and just enjoy being here alive together?
I have a question, maybe just for anybody in the room, really, is I think this is a room full of really incredible and wonderful people who dedicate their lives to this cause, but I think a lot of the issues that we're talking about here require the general population at large to create really, really seismic shifts. And I want to know, how can we approach people in the general population that don't dedicate their lives to these causes? And what are the resources out there? Is there a bill we can support? Is there an elected official that we want to put up? Where is the path forward that doesn't require somebody to dedicate their lives to this cause in order to create some kind of positive momentum? How can we get the average person on the street that, you know, could help with a signature or a vote? How can we get those voices involved? What is it? I mean, I know there's not a quick and easy solution, but what's the message to send to somebody that, you know, can give 5 minutes of their time?
So from a macro political level, I don't know what the bills are out there, but one of the things that, not just my personal experience, but the work that we do with WEconnect, every time that a peer support specialist on our team is resourcing a member that is building their own resilience, their own capacity, they are improving their life, who knows, out of the tens of thousands of people that we help will become that politician or will write that policy. So I think from my perspective, and the reason I started WEconnect, by the way, Cassandra, I'm so happy you're here. Our friend True is the reason that I became sober and started this company. So I am making a little bit of impact here with the people that we help, but who knows who we are helping might become the person or the people or the groups that either do radical revolution and transform our system, or create some policy that can be replicated, or take Casey's films and figures out how every single district individualized here in LA County can do it. So that's just my personal perspective.
And I just want to say, I think that just like she said, but every opportunity we have to like politically educate ourselves, because it's always it's always ongoing. It's an ongoing learning lesson for everything that's going on in the city. And share that with others, and don't be afraid to share that with others. I have a family of Trumpers that I am fighting against every day on the phone. So if I can do it, all of you guys can do it, because it's Mexican Trumpers. So there you go. And it just needs to be ongoing, and sharing our information with people, and always politically educating the people that are around us in our communities, and it just goes on and on and on. You know, I just think just always speaking up on what's right.
I was just going to add, I think it's also being willing to have hard conversations, being willing to be uncomfortable and lean into that discomfort. That's what I've found that I can do. And some days I can't. And that's also important, is for, as an individual, to recognize, like, ooh, today's not the day that I'm going to be effective in having that conversation. So I know when to tap in and when to tap out. And then looking at the resources and the privileges that we have. So because I got involved in like advocacy at an early age, I know a lot about how to navigate the system. That's one thing I can do, is I work with other peers to teach them about how to testify at the legislature. I work with people to organize, what are the steps? How do you have a voice? And then also how we craft our messages. So every message I have when I do advocacy work, it slightly changes depending on the audience. So if I'm going to talk to a group of teachers, what do they care about? The first thing I think about is, what does this audience care about? How can I connect this issue to what they care about? And I have to challenge my biases every time I do that. If I'm presenting to a group that I have a hard time with, like one time there was a group, myself and some other youth that had been involved in gangs, and we were doing a presentation to police officers about why we wanted them to allow us to sit on some of their councils. And we had to look at, are we the most effective people, or who are we missing? Who do we need to build a relationship with to be effective in talking to them? So we actually brought in spouses of police officers to talk with us about what they care about. And then we tailored our message to what they care about. So it's not just like sharing our stories and our experiences, but thinking about the people we're talking to, what do they care about, and how can I best reach them? Or am I not the best person to reach them? And who do I need to tap in if I can't? Sometimes I'm too angry to be effective. And so in that case, who could be effective? Or where can my anger be placed and somewhere else to be effective too? Because anger can be effective, it's just being intentional in how and where we choose to use it. Some of my most effective moments were when I was enraged. That's also some of my least effective moments, so.
I just wanted to help wrap it up by giving Roger one more round of applause. It's so one of the themes of the night. It's so important to get everybody in these spaces together.
Thank you.
And create these communities and have these hard conversations. Thanks to all of you for staying so late.
Thank you. And I really appreciate it. Like, everybody who chimed in, anybody who had a question, a comment, that was actually the point of this event. So, I mean, we got to figure it out. I don't think any of us have the answer yet, but I know the answer is we need to demand more from our leaders. We have to. They're failing us, and it's unacceptable. And maybe the bright side, though, is I think we're all realizing that together right now. And now more than ever, is the opportunity to build something new and better. So thank you for being here. You're going to get a follow-up email with all the links to the movies and stuff like that. Continue talking to Lauren and Daniela about WEconnect out there. Check out the Polly's Project booth, too. They're an organization that's very dear to my heart. Rest in peace, Paul Avila. Thank you for being here. Continue eating, drinking, dancing. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you guys for staying so late.